The first thing I discovered about being on a team was I have to serve the song. If you want to be good at something, you got to put in the time. You got to work hard. When you bring me into your organization, I'm going to motivate, I'm going to entertain, I'm going to educate, I'm going to play rock and roll drums with rock and roll music. Everybody's going to leave with something.
I love the shirt. I love the boots. Kenny, always a pleasure. John Fogerty, ladies and gentlemen.
I motivate my audiences from my experiences playing with people like Sting, Elton John, people like Buddy Guy, Ray Charles, Avril Lavigne, Michelle Branch. To do your homework. And I'm like famous for this. Just ridiculous amounts of work.
Now, I don't want to tell you how to do your business. I think your drummer may be a little anemic.
All right, everybody, welcome to Q&A Live with the one and only Mr. Kenny Aronoff. Everybody, my name is Peter, and I'll be moderating for today's Q&A. It is May 7th, 2020, and we are streaming live right now on Facebook and Twitter on Kenny's Facebook page and his Twitter account. There's three ways today that you can reach out to Kenny. On his Facebook page, please post your questions in the comments. On Twitter, you can ask your question by using hashtag AskKennyA, and we'll do our best to get to those as well. Or for the bold people out there who want to talk to Kenny directly, we're going to be calling some people, so Kenny's excited about that. You can please text us your name and number and your question. So let me get the banner up for you guys right now for that information. And what we can do is have you text your name, number, and question to 1-800, because we will be calling you direct so that you can chat with the one and only Mr. Kenny Aronoff. So without any further ado, please, everybody, welcome Mr. Kenny Aronoff. Kenny, how are you, my friend?
Great, Peter. That was quite the introduction. I like the boy, I forgot all those things. You know, when you see them in a row like that, it's like, oh my God.
Right. I mean,
so
you know,
cool.
Well, I'm going to tell you, like, I'll put some people along the bottom there, as you can see who you've played with. I mean, one of the things I didn't want to disrespect today was the fact that we're reaching out to people on your account, so you know people know who you are. I mean, they know your career, they've followed your career, they know who you've played with. But even when I'm listing it, I literally ran out of space on my ticker tape here, which that's why I had to put many more, because I'd be there all day. And but total respect to you about that, and thus not the big introduction. I could sit here and talk about your 300 million records that you've played on and the tours and all, but we're going to get to that. It's really about the people today. So let's make sure that everyone knows. Again, there's ways to reach. So for everybody on Facebook, please post your questions there. We're going to jump to those as quickly as we can. If you're on Twitter, you can use Ask Kenny A. Okay, that's something that we're going to be watching. So we apologize in advance if we don't get to everybody. We're going to do our best as we can, and I'm going to make sure that we follow up, of course, on the text, because believe it or not, Kenny, when we put this out, I think basically Sunday night, and right away we got some people texting us through the phone number or through that text number, and we had some great questions there for you already. So before we start everything, have to ask this. The elephant in the room, of course, is that we are in the middle of this quarantine, I need to ask you, how are you feeling and your family? Give us a quick little update about that.
Oh, I'm great. I mean, I'm fantastic. I go to my studio every day. My basic agenda is home, car, studio, car, home, except for occasional grocery stores once every 2 weeks and gas. But I've been recording all week in my studio, actually with an engineer. You know, we wear the face mask. I got this wrap I wear around my mouth.
Right. I saw you post about that. That's on your accounts as well. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
With the KN 9500. Yeah, and I'll just do all the right things. Just stay clean, wash my hands all the time. I feel great. So everything's good. My wife is a nurse. She's working downtown LA.
Wow.
At Salvation Army, and goes down to Watts once a week, and she's doing good. And so, yeah, I mean, obviously the music business is really taking a hit this year. I'm supposed to go on tour with Joe Satriani September 22nd for the U.S. run, but everything up to then has been postponed until next year.
Oh, we're losing you a little tiny bit.
But I'm staying very busy.
Got it. Okay, sorry, I just jumped in on you because I lost you for like 5 seconds, but it's okay. Got you back. Yeah. So we apologize to people in advance. We're live. It's streaming live. We're at the mercy of internet. We're at the mercy of being live. So I hope everyone can appreciate that. So Kenny, what we'll do, really, this is all about you wanting to connect. I know that when we talked, one of the first things you said, this is about the fan or people who, I know you don't like using the word fans, but you love the fact that people follow your career. They're admirers of what you do. So this is all about them. So we're going to jump to as many questions as we can. So let's try this. Kenny, I've never done this before with you, certainly. Let's try to call somebody right now who had a really good question. Yeah. And if they're around, great. And if they're not around, then I'm still going to ask his question, because this question that Tony. So Tony, if you're out there from Long Island, you know who I'm talking about. So Tony, if you're out there, I'm going to give you a call right now. But Tony had a question, and actually several other people have had those questions since. So I think we could tie it in all together. So let me just see if I can give Tony a call here, my friend, and hopefully he can hear you, Kenny, when we talk as well.
Is Tony's last name begin with a G?
Hello.
Hey, Tony.
Hey.
Tony, this is Peter. I'm moderating here today with Kenny Aronoff. So you're live with Kenny Aronoff right now, my friend.
Hello, Peter. Hello, Kenny.
Hey, Tony. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. We're doing our part here. We're staying healthy. We're social distancing, and we're staying good.
Fantastic. So Tony, you had a question for Kenny. I loved it, by the way, and I appreciate it. You got the text that was pretty quickly. So please jump on with your question for Kenny.
Yeah, when Kenny and I were together, he talked about the physicality of drumming and his approach to having a sound mind and body as a drummer. And I was particularly impressed by his dedication to nutrition and eating clean. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about his eating habits, his overall approach to nutrition, and does it differ when he's not on the road versus when he's on tour and on gig days?
Well, it's just I try to do the same. Basically, I try to do the best I can on any given day, no matter where I am. Obviously, when I'm traveling all around the world, tour bus, planes, it makes it more difficult. But I carry on tour, I'd say half of one suitcase, if not 3/4, is filled with supplements and protein powders, green food, all the things, a shaker, all the things that I can use. In hotel rooms. If I'm on a tour bus, it's easy because I can fill the refrigerator on the tour bus with everything I need. But yeah, nutrition is such a foundation. When somebody says, how do you stay in such great shape? I mean, 85% of it, any trainer will tell you, is what you eat. And so let's just put it this way. Nobody opens up a body on a table when they're doing surgery and say, "Oh my God, the guy ate too many pieces of broccoli and he died." I mean, you can't go wrong with vegetables and a certain amount of fruits. You eat your fruits earlier in the day, but those are the fruit is a natural way to get sugar. But basically, I still eat chicken, fish, and sometimes red meat, but I try to mostly stay away from processed food, sugar, fried foods, and eat as much vegetables as I can. I'll start my day now because of the COVID-19. I start immediately with hot water, lemon, because lemon is an alkaline food, and that is viruses don't like that. So hot lemon, alkaline, hot lemon water, a little bit of honey, and sometimes I'll put some other stuff in there. But then I have a protein powder that's very clean, very, very high end. It's got all the nutrients in it. A scoop of peanut butter, a cup of blueberries because you get the fruit. The peanut butter that gives you, it has fat in it. Those two things curtail your hunger. And then I'll put super green food in there. I use water, no sugar, juices. And I'll put in a tablespoon of fish oil. Fish oil is an incredible nutrient that's good for about 30 different main organs in your body. And then during the day, it's like, vegetables, chicken or fish with brown rice, things like that. Snacks are like nuts. I have to admit, I was recording and somebody bought me some homemade pie. I did dig into that. That's cheating though. But today, before I got on, I did treadmill and weights to knock all that off. And water is a massive nutrient you need. Every organ in your body needs water. Every organ needs body.
Absolutely.
Water.
Absolutely. No, it was funny because when I reached out to you to jump on here just a few minutes, 15, 20 minutes ago, you said, yeah, I'll be right with you. I'm working out right now. So I thought that was so cool. Here's, and I wanted to follow up because this is very similar to Tony's question. So Tony, just so you know, if you're still listening, first of all, thank you for taking the call and thanks for the question. And we did lose you actually after you asked the question. So I didn't cut you off, just so you know, I didn't. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to figure out all those little noises that you're hearing, Kenny. There's all people trying to reach you and stuff. So
that's cool.
I'm trying to figure out how to get rid of that for you. But let me share this with you. A lady by the name of Karen on Twitter wrote here as a question as well. So I want to give a shout out to Karen. And she said, might you please discuss your health practices, exercise, shoulders, healthy diet? She said, I met you once and you are fantastic shape. If people didn't know like your age and what you did for a living and all that stuff, they wouldn't. So Kenny, you know what that does really? It really brings us into some of the things that I know that you're passionate about, which is health and wellness and preparation and working hard and things like that. So if you don't mind, can we jump to that a little bit about, I know that you said you have these foundations, and I put it up here because I know that we've spoke about this somewhere in the past, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and then of course your steps to a healthy life. Can you expand on that a little bit for everybody?
Well, I believe everything is based on foundation, and it particularly is important right now. With the COVID-19, you have to. Everything starts with a foundation. If you think about a house, a building, any business, a band, it's all about foundation and fundamentals. So you got to be strong physically, you got to be strong mentally, you've got to be strong emotionally, and even spiritually, so that you can deal with adverse things coming at you. And simply put, let's just say you're standing straight up and somebody comes and pushes you. If your foundation is strong, you can deal with somebody pushing you, you won't fall over. But that same thing applies for mental, emotional, and spiritual. And everything is based on, you have to work at everything on a daily practice to be good at it. I have a system called the RPS, repetition of any skill is a preparation for success. So I have 8 steps. I'll try to go through it very quickly. The first one for me is lifting weights, because it makes you strong, but it also increases your hormone levels. And you lose your hormone levels as young as in your 20s. And when your hormone levels are up, you are literally building your immune system, keeping your immune system up, which is the type of thing that helps you deal with things like COVID-19 or flus or anything else. Second thing is cardio, cardio is the only way to exercise the heart. And the heart is, without the heart, you're dead. And so cardio exercises the heart, and it also boosts your immune system, which keeps you healthy. Number 3 is flexibility, so stretching or yoga. So now you're strong, you have endurance, and you're flexible. That's unbelievable. Number 4 is diet, which I just talked about. What you eat is who you are. Number 5 is supplements. I take a lot of supplements because I work very, very long hours and I work nonstop. So my like a multiple vitamin, it's made by a company called Pure, Pure, or New Chapter has a great, every man and every woman, a great multiple vitamin, has everything in it without explaining. It's got everything in it. If you just take that every day, you're getting everything, and it deals with stress, It's got a lot of extra things like vitamin B. You need D3. I take 20,000 milligrams of D. D, they have proven, fights off diseases, keep your immune system up. Basically, that's what it does, and that fights disease. They've even said that people with COVID-19, some of them they've sort of been very deficient in vitamin D3. You can get D3 in cod liver oil, which is a very, very organic way of getting it. Okay, and vitamin C, by the way, quarantine, fish oil, green food. Okay, number 6 is water. Your body, every organ in your body needs water. You can live 40 days without food, but only 3 days without water. Number 7 is meditation. And what I'm saying about meditation, it could be as simple as sitting in a chair and just shutting your eyes and focusing on one thing. Focus on, in my case, it might be a drum beat. But the point is, when you're stressed out, it will affect your immune system. If you're feeling stressed out, stop what you're doing, slow down, take deep breaths. It's amazing when you take deep breaths. Most of the time we don't breathe deep, but when you take deep breaths, think about it. If you stop breathing, you die. Your meditation is based on breathing. Deep breath puts oxygen all through your body and will relax you. So relaxing is very important. So that's why I say meditation or relaxing. Number 8 is sleep, and sleep is the only time your body can repair physically and mentally. And I have a really cool new friend who's a doctor. She's an expert on sleep, works with the NFL and the Major League Baseball. And her name is Meta, and she's an amazing doctor in Detroit. But we talk about sleep. Sleep is a way also, when you're sleeping, I just learned, is when your body memorizes how to deal with diseases. During the day, your body's like learning how to deal with things like COVID-19 or flus. But when you sleep, it memorizes it so that it will remember how to do it the next day. Those are my 8 steps to health.
Fantastic. Now, Ken, where do you learn all that stuff? Is that something that you've done along your whole career? Is that something that started at 50 or 40, or like, how did that work?
No, I mean, I think I started when I got with the Mellencamp band around age 30. I've always been really healthy, but when I was younger, I was maybe like partying a little bit too much, and I said, this is not right. And I went into a health food store, and I got these. Oh my God, what were they called? They were these great cookbooks. And then I went to this lady. You guys got to look this lady up. She's dead now. Her name is Hulda Clarke. Hulda, H-U-L-D Clarke. She came up with what they call the cure for all diseases and cancer. It's basically getting precious metals out of your body, getting plastics and metal out of your house and life, and getting parasites out of your body. And she came up with formulas. Anyway, this started me on a process I've been on ever since. And I'm not perfect. I mean, I have my drinks and stuff, but my basic approach to life is very, very healthy. And when you practice it every day, those 8 steps are there to remind you. Even if you forget if you don't do a few every day, they're there to remind you, like a checklist, like the 10 Commandments. Oh yeah, thou shalt not kill. You know what I mean? It's just there as a guide. You put it up on the wall as a reference. Oh yeah, I need to get enough sleep. Oh yeah, right. I better sleep more tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, it just reminds you, so you get into the routine of living your life this way.
Fantastic. Well, we're getting a ton of people just coming in on across both of these platforms here. Everybody, we appreciate you being here. I'm going to keep trying to go as quickly as we can here. So, Linda Godby, by the way, can you please text us one more time?
I see it.
You see it? Yeah, because I know that you know that name, don't you, Kenny? Right?
Is this Linda from Indianapolis?
I think so. So I want to reach out to her, but for some reason we've lost her number off here. So I'm going to ask her to reach out to us again if she can. Let me just jump back to a couple quick questions here. Love this question just because it's from Paul Beck. Yep. Hey, I'm 65. I just purchased my first drum kit.
Yeah.
How cool is that? I mean, how cool is that? So any suggestions on where to start? Can you give him a couple one-liners, Kenny?
Oh, there's so many. Go on YouTube. I mean, and there's so much available now on YouTube. Look, I have a video called The Basics of, I think this was called, it was so long ago, The Basics of Rock Drumming. It's just some basic exercises. But number one, find a teacher who's devoted their life to teaching in your area, and also go online. There's so much out there now. and start simple. And then for fun, put on records where don't put on like Rush right away. Put on simple things like Creedence Clearwater, the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, simple beats. Kashmir, if you can play Kashmir by Led Zeppelin, John Bonham. It's the simplest beat in the world, but it's the most important beat. Boom, bam, boom, bam, ba-da-dum, boom, ba-da-dum, ba-da-dum. Or AC/DC, Back in Black, boom, bam, ba-da-dum, same beat. Those are the foundations of drumming. Anyway, there's a good start there.
That's fantastic. I just love the fact that Paul Beck bought a drum kit at 65.
Good for him.
Rock and roll, man. I love it. All right, we're going to give a friend of yours a call right now. Watch this. Let's just see if she's there. I don't know Linda, but if Linda's there, we're going to chat with her right now. So maybe she can tell us. We're going to find out. Oh, she's not going to make me go to voicemail, is she?
This is Linda.
Hey, Linda, this is Peter and Kenny Aronoff. How are you?
That's Linda. I know that voice. How are you, Linda?
I'm going to let you talk to Kenny. I don't know your connection. Why don't you explain to everybody the connection point? Maybe Kenny can tell us about it. Go ahead.
Well, I met Kenny in Indianapolis. He was playing with the Bodines, which are two of my favorites. And I had seen him earlier the year before, and he gave away 3 T-shirts. So I made a skirt out of a T-shirt, and he can go from there. Anyway, I saw him after the show, and he loved it, and so I've been going to see him ever since. Just hearing him speak, hearing him play. So, yeah, he's awesome.
Linda is the T-shirt cracked me up because it was my face on her dress, so of course I thought that was amazing. But but Linda's also like a super cool person who just has enjoyed me speaking. I've given speeches, corporate speeches in Indianapolis and also some for the public, and she's always been there. She's an athlete herself, and she's always open to learning, and a really, really wonderful human being, a really nice person. Doesn't get any better than that. And so I've always appreciated, Linda, you showing up. It's always fun to catch up. And next time I'm in Indianapolis, hopefully that'll be soon. We'll see you there.
Yeah. Hey, I do have one question for you.
Yeah.
Since you're Mr. Energizer Bunny and you're always working and recording, do you ever take a break? Do you relax? Do you take a day and do nothing? Or what do you do if you relax?
Well, it's really hard for me to do nothing. My brain is just constantly going. But relaxing, I guess you could call, would be watching a great movie. Or I love sports. I'm an NFL junkie, but I love all sports. I was a 3 Letterman jock when I was a sophomore in high school. Lacrosse, skiing, and soccer. But so that would be considered relaxing. Working out is relaxing. Lifting weights is relaxing to me. And I'm reading a really cool book right now called I've really gotten into Winston Churchill. It's this book, The Last Line. This guy was amazing. So I'm not the greatest reader, but I love reading about people that were, made such a huge dent in society and life. And that guy basically was instrumental in saving the free world from Nazi Germany. So, yeah, that's some of the ways I relax.
Okay.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you. Hey, Linda, thanks so much for calling. Linda. You were one of the first ones that called in, so super appreciate that. And hopefully you and Kenny will connect in the near future, okay? Take care.
Okay.
Bye, Linda.
Bye-bye. That's kind of cool, man. It's what's really cool about the fact that you can actually remember some of these people that come out and see you over and over again. So no, it's great, Kenny. Hey, listen, I want to throw this one up here. I just thought this was cool. He's going to lose his mind if this is the real deal. I'm going to have to look it up. His name is Tyler, and the name of his band is the Green Planet Band. And he says, I'm 12 years old. How cool is that? So right there, just think about that, Kenny. We basically had someone at 65 with a new drum kit and a 12-year-old calling you. I mean, that's cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
So he's asking you who he said, who was your drum idol as a kid? Who was yours?
All right. So Tyler, when I was a kid, I was in that transition between jazz and rock and roll. My parents grew up in New York, so they had jazz on the turntable all the time. So I was blown away by Buddy Rich and Louis Bellson. Listen to Louis Bellson with the Duke Ellington Band, a song called Skin Deep. It's one of the greatest drum solos ever. It's so musical. So I was listening to a lot of jazz drum, Tony Williams. People played with Miles Davis, John Coltrane. But as soon as I saw the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show, I was 10 years old, 2 years younger than you. When I saw Ringo Starr play with the Beatles, I completely lost my hair, as you can see. But I flipped out. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. I was like bouncing off the walls. Tyler, I was so blown away by the Beatles and how cool Ringo was. I asked my mom to call up the Beatles and get me in the band. And obviously she didn't have their number and didn't call her. But Ringo Starr. And then I got really into Mitch Mitchell with Jimi Hendrix. Because Mitch Mitchell was a jazz drummer playing rock and roll, I identified with both styles. He listened to Jimi Hendrix's first album, Are You Experienced? You probably have. And you can hear Mitch Mitchell, he's playing beats, but then he improvises like a jazz drummer. It's unbelievable. Then I got into John Bonham, and then Billy Cobham completely blew, another guy who blew my mind. I'd never seen a drummer play like that. Billy Cobham played right-handed, left-handed, match grip, traditional grip. He could play every style, left-handed, right-handed. I'd never seen him so fast and so powerful. And then it just went on and on and on.
Wow.
So there you go.
We can totally relate to Ringo. I mean, I think almost all of us, Kenny, as a secret note for everybody, because when we chat, we're always just chatting. We're doing whatever we talk about. But when I was kind of growing up myself, there was basically 4 drummers in my mind that I went to, for example. And you were certainly definitely one of them, just so you know, of course. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the other 3 for me were Charlie Watts, Ringo Starr, and Max Weinberg from Springsteen.
Oh, yeah.
So I always thought about you and Max. I always think about you and Max are the guys that just laid that, foundation for pop rock and roll. And then those other 2 guys laid it for pretty much everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I learned from Max because of Springsteen was already happening. But ask Tyler what his favorite drummers were. I mean, who inspired him?
That's a great question. So Tyler, if you're still watching us, that is a great question.
Tell us, who was your inspiration? Who are your idols?
That's a great question, Kenny. Great question. So Tyler, text us if you can, or put us up and make sure that we can get to that. There's a question here, Kenny. I wanted to talk about it because I know that I have to get a new copy of this as well that's coming up. But someone just asked me here I want to see if I can find it here, about your book. So I'm going to try to find the comment. But basically they asked, are you writing a new book or your other book? So I know that there's lots of questions about your books, your writing, and anything new coming out. So can you talk to us about that as well?
Well, first of all, my first book, Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll, is an autobiography. It's just about me struggling to become who I am. The title is not what the book's about. It's not about sex. It's just I like the title. It sounds cool. But anyway, it's about somebody making it, what I went through to become successful. And nobody's born successful. Success does not land in your lap. If you do nothing, you get nothing. And if you wait for something to happen, guys like me are going to come and take it away from you. Not purposefully, but I'm going after stuff all the time. And I have a phrase, it's called, I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'm willing to spend the rest of my life trying to be as great as I can be. And that means that even though I'm successful, I realize that once you're successful, it's hard. It's even harder to stay successful. So the things that got me successful are the things I'm still doing to stay successful. And that's what that book's about. That's coming out in paperback, apparently on May 15th. I didn't really even know that. Peter told me. And then I'm going to do an audio book. I'm going to do an audio version of my book. And to answer your question even more, there is another book I wrote. It's an inspirational book. It's basically how to be successful. It's basically, are you living your life loud like a drummer, or are you dying on the vine by doing nothing? And that book was written 1.5 years ago, and it was written and edited, and I didn't put it out because I want to put some new ideas in that book before I do it. And that's one of my things I plan on doing this year. since I'm not touring, is I will get that book out. Oh my God, I just said I would do it. So there you go.
You just committed. Hey,
I just said it.
Is this an exclusive? Are we getting an exclusive here? Is that what's happening?
I guess. I don't know. It's an inspirational book. I just want to see, I do public speaking. I speak at corporations. I motivate people. It's a teamwork speech. It's about creativity, innovation. It's about realizing your purpose in life. It's about, always trying to get better at what you do by working hard, being self-disciplined, and persevering. And really important now, even more than ever, it's about staying relevant and adapting and adjusting over and over and over again, as I did one of the most difficult businesses in the world, the music business, which has changed so much. And you have to be able to stay relevant. But the overlying thing, the umbrella that motivates you to do those skills, those action items, as I call them, is you realizing your purpose in life, which I did without even knowing it at age 10. And that is what in my heart, this doesn't come from here. It can start here, but it ultimately has to be in your heart. When it's in your heart, this is who I am. This is what I got to do. Like that guy who bought it, 65-year-old guy who bought a drum set. This is who I am. This is what I got to do. When you operate from there, you're unstoppable. I mean, you're undeniable. You're authentic. I'm the guy I can't wait to wake up in the morning and get to work. But I'm also the guy who doesn't want to turn the lights off at night because I'm still digging what I'm doing. I mean, if I could go without sleep, I would do it. And I used to only sleep 4 hours a day, night, thinking, yeah, I'm getting 20 hours a day in until I read.
Well, sleep is so important, right?
If you don't
healing.
Get sleep, you lose life. You lose years in your life later on. I went, oh my God, I probably lost 50 years. I mean, I'm going to live to 120, which means I could have lived to 170. But anyway, so that book is about a lot of that stuff.
That's awesome. Well, we got a commitment, everybody. So everyone on Twitter and Facebook Live, we've heard it now, and we're going to be expecting that, Kenny. It's not like, and you know what, the funny thing is, everyone thinks because, maybe you're not out touring or anything right now that you're not busy, but you're doing a ton of recording right now. Let me just jump in with this quick question. Gregory Tooley is just asking here, do you ever take a vacation from your schedule? So we know you don't, but let me ask you this question and kind of twist this. And Gregory, I hope you don't mind because Kenny's a workaholic. But when you do, you've done so much traveling in your world, in your life, Kenny, if you think about it, like, so where would you kind of, if I could unplug you for like just even at the long weekend, 3-4 days, you and your wife go somewhere, where are some of the places that stand out for you when you come out to vacation?
I have done it. Hawaii. Listen, I'll go to Hawaii. I love the mountains. I would go to Telluride or somewhere in Colorado, just to, there's so many beautiful places. The thing is, if I do take a vacation, and I go to England because my wife is from England, it's not necessarily a vacation, but it's not touring. A vacation is when I'm not touring, recording, rehearsing, practicing, or lifting weights or doing cardio. That's a vacation. But if I do go on a vacation, I always work while I'm on vacation. I can't not work. I mean, let's say I go to Hawaii. I wake up, I have a great breakfast. I'm immediately check my emails, social media, answer all kinds of business stuff follows me wherever I go. So if I'm in the middle of a project or I write charts when I'm on the road, when I'm on vacation, it's just that I'm taking more time to do fun things. Like,
Sure.
If you're in Hawaii, you go to the beach, do stuff. But, I wait till my wife falls asleep and then I do work, answer emails. If I'm on, like, say, a 10-day vacation, I'm preparing usually for, oh, my God, I got like 1 million sessions to do when I get back to LA. And I have to practice every day in the hotel room to keep my skills up. So I'm always working out, always eating right, even and I'm practicing and I'm keeping all my businesses going. I mean, it's endless for me. So I'm vacationing, but I'm bringing my work with me, which I don't mind.
I love it. And just to add to the Hawaii thing, I already know where you're hanging out in Hawaii. I bet you're down at Mick Fleetwood's, aren't you? They're in.
I have been there.
Have you been to Mick's? Isn't that a great place? Oh my goodness.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's
what
so
a cool spot. And he just pops in and out. He pops in and out and does some jamming with people. And it's cool.
Is it in Lahaina? Is that what it is? Lahana.
Yeah, that's right. It's in Maui. That's right. Exactly. And I've been down there a couple of times. I love that place. One of my favorite places to go. Here's a great question. Again, we talked about it, about the fact that you're not on tour. Obviously that's digging into a whole lifestyle in itself. The fact that you're used to being on the road so much, and now you're spending a lot of time at home and in the studio. So the question is, from Sammy here, Sammy Cohn, is Kenny doing session work during this time, and if so, with whom?
Oh, yeah.
So just talk a little bit about, because I know you just got over 3 full days. I was trying to get even one text from you to get this going, because you've been so busy. So tell us what you've been working on in the last little bit.
Monday, I worked on the first song of 5 songs I'm going to do with an artist from, I don't know where he's from, but it came from Paris. And it was kind of like his name is Peter Schneidhauer, I think. And it basically sounded like Sabbath or Ozzy Osbourne. The other song I did on Monday was with this woman, Jeannie Cunningham. The first time I met her, but apparently she auditioned for the Go-Go's. Apparently she was the engineer for Ike Turner from Tina Turner. No, this is like back in the day.
Wow.
And this is a cute little woman, and she what she has become is excellent at writing songs for like big corporations. Like, I don't quote me, but it's be like it would be like for Microsoft or Mercedes or this corp or that corp. So I was basically doing one of those songs. Met her for the first time, and it was the coolest. We all had masks on, It was the first time we were all together. I think I have a picture right here. But she's that was that session, and let's see where that is. I think here we go. Yeah, there we go. It's and the bass player on the session, that's Jorgen. He plays with Government Mule and plays with Steve Lukather too. Great bass player. And so and then the next 2 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, I did 9 songs, and this was, I'm going to show you a picture of this setup. This was a rare time where I was doing a lot of percussion, where I don't usually. Let's see if I got this. Like, let's see. I was doing a lot of, like, look at this. This is an extra drum kit I had set up in my studio. It's with tablas. It's a headed snare. The snare drum is a headed tambourine. The first rack tom is a tabla. Second rack tom is the other set that goes with the tabla. African drum, 12-inch hi-hats, and that was a kit that was right across from my main kit. There's a closer version of it. But the artist was Dean Collins. He was a musician first, and then he went into the Navy. And right now he's still a Delta captain. He's high up in the he's a pilot. He's amazing. But we a very, very introspective kind of he's from Kentucky, and this one song is honoring his dad, but it's gone back to his roots. So I did a lot of percussion on this record. Some songs I started with percussion, like I used to with Mellencamp. And then add the drums afterwards, and very different drum sounds. And, sometimes my snare drum was a headed tambourine playing with a plastic bundle. And we experiment with all kinds of things, and that's what I used to do with the Mellencamp days. So that's what we're doing. And right now I've got 10 songs I have to do with a buddy of mine who's the CEO of Kodak Films, and Steve Bellamy. And he's made records. I've made records for him, and he was an artist when he was in college. He was 10 years younger than me, and actually hired me when I lived in Bloomington. I was in the Mellencamp band to play for his band for a fraternity in Bloomington. But now we're all grown up. We've reconnected, and I make records for, I record songs for him all the time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that's what the thing is. People think if you're not on tour, you're not working, but you're the opposite. I mean, you're doing it all the time. Hey, I just wanted to throw it at you. I don't know if you see it on your screen there for Tyler. He got back. He said anyone who might have missed Kenny's drumming references. So Tyler, that young fella got back to us, or someone for him has done so. Buddy Rich. Let's see. Who else is there? Ringo Starr, Mitch Mitchell. Did I miss anybody? So there's all kinds of great names in there. Obviously,
Billy Cobham.
Right. There you go. So how do you beat all that kind of stuff? So one thing I did recognize recently on Billboard, something popped up, obviously something that you're connected with.
Yeah.
So let's throw out that out because you've been working with Joe Satriani and hey, it's showing up on Billboard.
Joe is one of the greatest guitar players on the planet. No, not the planet, the universe. And he's one of the sweetest, nicest people in the world. A genius. You've got to check out this album. First of all, this is his 17th album. There's no vocals on it. And it entered Billboard top 100 albums. That means he's competing with people like Billie Eilish and everybody else. He entered the charts at number 8 a couple of weeks ago. I think April 10th it hit the charts. The album's called Shapeshifting. And I was supposed to be on tour with him right now. The first time I played with Joe was in Chickenfoot. It's a super group with Sammy Hagar or Michael Anthony from Van Halen. And the original drummer, and still the drummer, is Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers. But he couldn't do the second tour because he had to go back to his day job with his band, the Chili Peppers. So Chad,
good day job. Good day job.
Yeah. Chad told Sammy, you got to get Kenny Aronoff. And so Sammy called me up and said, Chad said I'm supposed to get you. And he said, well, I mean, why should I? I don't need to do this, I said, I want to have fun. He says, why should I have you in the band? I said, well, Chad, I hit hard like Chad does. I play rock and roll like Chad does. I play funky like Chad does. I'm better looking than Chad, but he's way funnier. And Sammy laughed. And I said, why don't we get together and just hang out? Let's hang out and see if we like each other. And we'll start with that because, you see, you have to understand, everybody, you're on stage for an hour and a half or 2 hours at the most. Well, what about the other 22 hours? Yeah, Mellencamp used to tell me, I can find plenty of great musicians. I want to find people I get along with. I want to be around people I want to hang with. That is what I speak about in my speeches. That's being a team player. Because I probably get hired as much for my ability to connect with people, communicate. Once you do that, now you can collaborate. So anyway,
absolutely.
That Joe Satriani record's badass, and we'll eventually go on tour.
How cool come on, man.
He is so good. Oh my God, Joe is so good.
That's a good band he's got. He's got a great band too.
Chris Chaney, I have to put shout out for Chris Chaney. He's one of the greatest bass players on the planet. He plays with Jane's Addiction. He and I have done hundreds of sessions together, and he's one of the most decent human beings on the planet too. Sweetheart. Guy's a workaholic like me. And anyway, shout out to Chris Chaney.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, like I said, just an unbelievable tune. I just want to throw this out. We got to jump to so many questions, Kenny. I'm sorry to everybody so everyone, please hang in there, be patient. We're going to get through as many as we can. I don't think this is probably the first or last of these things for us in the future. So we'll definitely make sure we get back to you. Yeah. But Kenny, one of the things about your work ethic, what you do, and why you've stayed at the top of your game for so long is the fact that, and I don't know if people know this, so I don't want to geek out on anybody. We're going to take 30 seconds here to talk about the fact that you physically write out every single song. And when you told me that, I don't know, we were just chatting about something, I don't know, last week or something. And I said, I know you chart stuff. And you said, no, I chart everything. And I was like, what do you mean everything? He goes, no, everything. And so even this song that we just played, I'm going to throw the chart up because I said, well, show me one. And you sent me this one, which was fantastic. And there it is there. Like, I can't believe that you do that for every single song. Now, why is that? Because I asked you that and you gave me a very profound answer, which is you can't remember.
Well, I don't remember what I said exactly, but I'll tell you this much. If I'm going in to do a record with Joe Satriani and he sends me the tracks, I write every note out so that I could literally, if he wanted to record 10 songs in one day, I could do it. And I'm not wasting time. And the thing is with a lot of artists nowadays, because they send me the files, the songs they want me to record, they're not even there. They're from all over the world. And they created drum parts, and 95% of the time, that's what they're used to hearing. That's what they want. So what I do is I write out every note so that once I write it out, which, by the way, that could take probably 30 minutes at the most. I'm very fast. And because I've been doing it for a long time, and this way I can't memorize that much material. It's impossible.
I was thinking that, like you talked about that. You said, like, I don't remember songs, so I can just pull it up and I see it and I go, oh, that's what I did.
Well, the point is, I when preparing for Joe Satriani's tour, it was 32 songs. I can't memorize that fast. I'm learning 32 songs with Joe, but I'm recording 20 other songs with other artists that, and I don't have time to, and I got to run out and do a one-off show with Sammy Hagar. That's another 15 songs like Van Halen and everything. And those are very specific parts, specific tempos, everything. And then all of a sudden I go out with John Fogerty. I got to review a few things, or he's changed some things. And then all of a sudden I got to do a TV show with like 15 artists. There's no way. It's impossible. That's why people go, well, you're the hardest working. How do you do it? Well, I learned a skill set and I'm perfecting it all the time. I write everything out. And when I do shows like the Kennedy Center Honors, and you're playing with Sting and Springsteen and Elton John and Chris Cornell and Steven Tyler and John Mellencamp, one after another on one show, and you only have a couple of days of rehearsal. And when I mean rehearse, you're rehearsing without the artist, then you rehearse with the artist, then you do an on-stage camera check, and that's it. And
wow.
You got Sting coming up to you right before the show. And you, by the way, the day of the show, you've rehearsed from 9 or 10 in the morning until 5. You have 2 hours, and now they're filming it, recording it. The President of the United States there. You have dignitaries and celebrities. You make a mistake, you get fired. Wow. There's no hand-holding or coddling. No, you have to be perfect. And here's the deal. Things are going to go wrong. And it's my job to problem solve. And it's not a joke. It's serious business. And I take it serious. People ask me, do you ever get nervous? No, I don't get nervous. I get serious. It's not a joke.
Wow. That's
so writing,
difference.
I know charts. I write tempos. I write who to count off to, when to count off, what's the cue. Does anybody have to tune their guitars? When I do these big shows, like with 26 different songs with maybe 20 artists, and you're rehearsing up to about 90 minutes before the show, and I while everybody's eating dinner, I'm looking at all the charts and going over the beginning and the end of every song because we've never played them in a row. Then I put them in my iPad in order, and I practice the beginning, the ending. I eat dinner and get dressed in 25 minutes before the show. Get on the bandstand. It's like I had written down, Don Henley comes from my left side. Let him speak. Oh, he's not going to speak. I got my hands up. I got the click going in my ears. I wait for the guitar players to tune. I'm like, here we go. I start. And I talk to the stage manager, the producer. It's not just playing drums, but I can't remember all that stuff. So I write it down. In my first lesson at age 19 at Indiana University, the #1 school of music, in classical music, I walked into my lesson and somehow I forgot a pencil and eraser. My teacher said, F you get an F, get out of here. He threw me out of his room. He says, don't you ever walk into a rehearsal without a pencil and an eraser.
That is crazy. Well, that's what I mean. You've learned so many. I mean, these are the stories that are. I love that some of those stories that are in your book as well. I mean, so let me just jump. I got to jump to some of these questions. There's so many here, and let me just see if we can. There's a great photo here of it says, "Hi Kenny, Indy. Let's see you at the Indy and the Vogue with the Bodines. Any chance of that happening again? So talking about that, any chance of going back to the Vogue? Yeah."
The Bodines, I've played with them maybe longer than even Fogerty. Yeah, longer than Fogerty. I started with them, I mean, on and off. I think the first record I recorded with them was called Home. Badass record. And it's, no, it's not called, oh, damn it. I forget the name of the first. How could I forget that? Anyway, Kurt and Sammy, Bodines, Milwaukee, I think it was 1988, 1989. John Mellencamp decided to take a bunch of years off. I was so excited that I had recorded 8 records on my, John stopped. It was actually in Milwaukee, at Milwaukee Fest where the Bodines are. I think Sam came and I recorded 8 records after that, and I thought, wow, I'm doing great. So I think December 9th, I get a phone call, and I'm in the shower, and I'm going, whatever. I'm like, I'm feeling great about myself. I finally jump out of the shower, and Sammy says, hey, Kenny, it's Sammy. We want
now,
you.
is that really what he sounds like? Because if he's listening, he's good.
Sammy says, you want to come up and record some songs with us? I went, oh, my God, I'd love to. It was like 9 degrees. They had a Ryder truck on the street with a studio in it. They had heaters in there. They were freezing cold. It was Jim Scott who produced Joe Satriani's record. That was his first production, 1988 or 1989. His first production. And now he's had a top 10 record, one every decade for 50 years. And that,
wow.
and anyway, so the Bodines record was killer. It was like we were way upstairs in this old brewery that had gone out of business, but they were renting rooms for people, had heaters. We had cameras up there. They had microphones up there so they could talk to us from downstairs. I mean, it was the type of record where I remember Kurt, there's a song, you got to check it out if you guys haven't heard it. It's called You Don't Get Much. And Kurt, we were probably had some drinks. It was 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning. Kurt's playing this cool, Kurt Newman, one of the founding members. He's still, it's his band now. Sammy's moved on, but it's Kurt's, is the Bodines. And he's playing this cool guitar riff. And I start getting into this tom-tom thing, very U2-ish, like boom, bam, boom, boom, boom. Bah, boom, 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 boom. And Kurt doing this cool, like, rolling, and it just, Kurt, sorry, I've got the notes wrong, but it's rolling, and we just build it up, and Kurt's got this amazing, beautiful voice that's like, just sucks you in, and we just built it. I just kept adding more and more and more, and by the end, it's like just boom. And I'm not going to dare sing it, but check it out. You don't get much. And that was like, I think, 1 take, and that was that record. And then they had their own drummer, and they tour, and then I started touring with them. Whenever occasion, it was the most awesome stuff, and I'm sure I'll be playing with them again.
I'm sure you will. Hey, Kenny, let's just jump in, and I'm going to grab. I'm just going to start blaring through some calls for you because I just think it's just the coolest thing if we can reach out to somebody. So, Sarah, if Sarah is out there right now, I'm going to call you right now, Sarah. So, if this is really Sarah, I hope you're going to answer for us.
If it's a Sarah, I think it is. She'll answer.
2 hours and Sarah, just so for you, Kenny. Same one. Hi, is this Sarah?
Yes,
hello.
This is Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. This is Peter. You're with Kenny Aronoff.
That's Sarah. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? Tell everybody that. Well, let me say, I'll play this part. She is one of the grooviest drummers. I mean, she has got a groove, a pocket. She does everything right. She plays the beat, she plays time, and it makes it feel great from the beginning to end. But, is this the Sarah I'm talking about, right? You live in Connecticut or Massachusetts?
Connecticut.
Yes. All right. Sarah, she's got a very pretty voice, but you do not want to do martial arts with her.
All right, Sarah.
She's a black belt, big time. She's badass.
Okay. So Sarah, go ahead with your question. Go ahead with your question for Kenny there. I see it there, but I'll let you go ahead and speak it for yourself. Go ahead.
So my question for Kenny is, I have been looking for different types of rudiments to build my left hand. Any advice on how to build your left hand so it's as good as your right?
Oh, that's a great question, Sarah. I mean, if you're right-handed, your left hand usually isn't as good as your right hand, and if you're left-handed, it's the reverse. Just double up. Just do twice as much. Sarah, my single stroke exercise, where I do the first 13 lines of stick control, and then they're 8th notes, and then I follow it with 16th note single stroke roll. Do you know that exercise?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when you do the left-handed, like line 2 is left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and then you do a roll starting with your left hand. When you do those lines, do them 3 times as opposed to 1 time. And you just double up everything. Practice left-handed. Like instead of playing right-handed, like, take some simple beats, like, how when I recorded Hurts So Good with Mellencamp, I did that left-handed. Because for those who are listening, when you're right-handed drummer, you play right hand on your hi-hat like this, and you play left hand on your snare drum. So I just reversed it and played left hand on my hi-hat. You're playing more notes in right hand on my snare drum. The whole idea was I was trying, when you practice reverse, your left hand will start doing more notes, more work. And it's just the amount of time you put into your left hand. The more time you put into it, the better it'll get. So do a 3-to-1 ratio. Whatever, if you're doing single stroke rolls with your left hand, do it 3 times more than the right hand. And when you're playing simple beats, play left hand on the hi-hat, because you're playing 8 notes and you're doubling up. And it'll start to get better and better and better.
Fantastic. Hey, thanks, Sarah. And hey, how cool is it that Kenny actually knows, as soon as he hears that name, Sarah, he knows who you are. That's pretty cool. You must be doing something right.
She's a perfect example of a hard worker. She works hard. She's always got a great attitude. Her parents have a great attitude. Sarah's like a model person.
That's fantastic, Sarah. Well, there you go. You can't get much higher compliment than that. Thanks for your question, and thanks for picking up. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that, Kenny. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, fantastic advice, Kenny. That's fantastic. I got another one here. Hopefully, Eric, if you're on the line, I'm going to call Eric right this second. You've got a great question here. That's great advice, though, Kenny, about, like I said, doubling up on the exercises and so on. Really, really cool advice there. See if Eric answers here. Eric is pretty good little question here, I think.
I see someone says, "How's your hearing?"
Hello.
Hi, is this Eric?
Yeah, this is Eric.
Hey, Eric, you're live with Kenny Aronoff right now. Say hello, and how about throwing out your question for him?
Hey, how are y'all doing? How are you doing, Kenny?
Oh, good, Eric. Where you calling from?
I'm calling from South Carolina.
Awesome. Well, what city? Because I've been all over South Carolina.
In Irma, South Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina. I read you an email the other day about making a book talk for some of my students here in Columbia, South Carolina. But the question I have for you was, I've heard Jeff Porcaro speak a lot about making his jobs as a session musician back in the early 70s, and how he would take almost any job, and he would say, take as many jobs as you can. Don't worry about the money, because you're trying to build your name up. And I know he later said that build up with Boss Skaggs is what helped make Toto. So I was wondering, especially for some of my students, what would be some of your advice for these kids that want to be session musicians and want to try to build up their name like yours and like Jeff Porcaro?
Well, the thing is that the world has changed. There aren't sessions anymore like that. It used to be that guys like us would be in the big rooms, the big studios, 7 days a week. I mean, I had 2 drum sets in Nashville, 2 in New York, 2 in LA, 1 in Japan, 1 in Germany, Frankfurt, and many, many in Indiana. And people would fly me all over the world to make records. The reason why is because people bought CDs. I'm on 3 CDs that sold 40 million copies. Now, the record label makes 82 cents on every copy. So 82 cents times 40 million is a lot of money. With that money, they can invest in new bands, and then they can afford to market the music. They can afford to put them on the road. They can afford to do all the things that take the expense to make the record. All that money is almost completely gone. Nobody buys CDs anymore. Very rarely. So the problem is the budgets have gone. So the session situation has diminished huge. So last year, instead of being in the studio, 7 days a week for months and months and months and months, I was in the big rooms only 7 times. So that's why I have my own studio, because I had to adapt and adjust. I have my own studio, so people send files to me. And so my advice is, I wanted to be honest and let you know that if you're trying to be a Kenny Aronoff and Jeff Porcaro from the business model of the 70s, 80s, in 90s, that's not there anymore. That's gone. You can't come out to LA and say, I'm here and I'm going to make records every day, because there's no budgets. They're not going into studios to make records like that anymore because they're not selling records. So if you want to be a session player, you're going to have to, the business model is to build a reputation on making records in your home studio.
There you go. You know, and that's great advice, Kenny, because you're really pushing toward entrepreneurship. I mean, we're going into this whole concept of a person that really has to look at this as a business. It's a great hobby. Exactly. Once your hobby and your passion turns into a business, to your point, you have to look where the revenue streams are, or you don't have a business. And so I'm just curious with Eric. Eric, you said my students. Are you a teacher of some sort, and people are coming to you and you're giving training, and then these young people want to go out then and be basically the Kenny Aronoffs of the industry? Is that generally what we're hearing here?
Well, I'm not a drum teacher. I wish I was. I'm a drummer. I've been a drummer for many years, but I'm an English teacher. I teach students English in high school. And so I have a lot of students who are drummers. And when I saw that he was having this interview, I said, I wouldn't mind speaking up for them, because they look up to Kenny and they look up to Neil and Jeff and these great drummers, and they want to see what it was, that spark that they had that made them in the business. And I appreciate Kenny being honest about that, because it has changed. It's not the same as it was, where you had all these special Southern California kids who would get together, like Steve and Jeff and
exactly.
David.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Steve Lukather yesterday. We were talking about exactly what you were saying, what it was like back then, and it's just changed. But you know, that's the nature of any business, especially now in the world we live in. There are major adjustments being made, and it's up to us to adapt to stay relevant.
That's fantastic advice. Hey, Eric, I really appreciate that feedback that you gave us about the fact that, to your point, these young musicians today will look up to their heroes and people they idolize, and they need to hear the truth. And you mentioned that about Kenny being honest about the process, because it's been hard work for Kenny, and the market has changed, and people will have to adapt. But we appreciate your question, and thanks for calling in, and good luck with your students, my friend.
All right, thank y'all. Thank y'all for taking your time with us. Y'all be safe out there.
You as well. Fantastic. That's great advice, Kenny. I mean, like I said, and it's really unfair when you think about it, to compare, what you've done in the 80s, what you did in the 90s and the 2000s. I mean, because it's just a different time. It's a different time of the world.
It is what it is. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, that's just what it is,
Right. I mean, look where we are today. I mean, today is actually that exact situation where the world has changed completely, and now we have to all adapt to it and stuff. I'm going to call this gentleman here. I know this is a regular question for you, Kenny, but this is one of the earlier questions that came in. So, Joe, if you're out there, Joe 705 is your area code, Joe. And let's just see if he's here to take a call. This is kind of fun, hey, Ken? Just reaching out to people randomly. I think it's cool, man. It's great. It's great. All right, Joe. This is your chance, buddy. Joe. I hope he picks up. He'll be mad. Joe missing out. All right, we're going to have to let Joe go. Sorry, man. We missed out on Joe. So, Kenny, while we're finding another caller to reach out to, and we're going to look at some more comments here. And for people that are still tuning in right now, we're going to go for about 90 minutes. So everyone knows that. We're at 105 right now. Yeah. So we got Kenny for a little bit longer. And if you have questions, please put them in. And we apologize in advance. There's just so many people sending us things, and we so appreciate it. And I guarantee you, Kenny will go through them. He'll see them. We'll watch them. And if anything pops out, we'll be sure to get back to you somehow, some way. So Kenny, talk about, we're actually streaming on Facebook and Twitter. But I also know you're on LinkedIn a lot. And so just talk a little bit about LinkedIn in general, why someone like you would spend time on LinkedIn, and maybe that just branches over to things that you're already doing, which is speaking and writing and so on.
Yeah, well, the LinkedIn is more designed for people who are in business, and it's a platform for people to connect with each other that are business minded. So when I post on LinkedIn, I tend to do the same post on every every platform because I right now I'm doing my own posts. I don't have time to craft each one differently. But when I do go on LinkedIn, I will I'll take some of the stuff out, that it is more suited for, Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. And I stay more nuts and bolts. And, a lot of my posts have a message. And I think that suits LinkedIn very well, especially if it has something to do with, people that are business minded. And so I it's definitely a good platform. It's not the place to do like showing people how to make cupcakes or it's not a social media.
No.
I looked at LinkedIn more as a strategy place, a place for strategy.
And I think that was and that was part of my questioning this, because I have seen many professional musicians specifically, and somewhat famous musicians, I mean, like yourself, are on LinkedIn because there is a different dynamic to your business, which means that, yes, you're a session player, you play live and so on, but you're also a speaker, you're an author, and all of the skills that you've learned to stay on top over 40 years applies to leadership and team building and these kinds of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just believe that you being on LinkedIn is actually a very smart move, because if there's CEOs and sales leaders out there that want to kind of inspire people, and sometimes it's fun to go outside of your own industry, and your industry, Kenny's, yours specifically, is so difficult to have legs with for any length of time. Your messaging to a team like that would be fantastic. I believe.
No, I do too. And, I mean, it was a natural process to move into. I mean, okay, I've been a very successful session drummer in multiple genres. I mean, you're lucky if you become a member of a band or you're in a band. You're lucky if you become a session player. But somehow I ended up both. And then you're even crazier if you're the guy that gets called to do, a record like the obvious Mellencamp, Melissa Etheridge, Bob Seger, Bob Dylan, not Bruce Springsteen, Elton John, and on and on. But then I'm playing with Tony Iommi from Sabbath and Alice Cooper, go on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins. Now you're going a little different. Then all of a sudden I'm playing with Ray Charles, B.B. King. Oh, what about Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings, the Highwaymen? And then until recently I was playing with Jerry Lee Lewis, the inventor of rock and roll, and Little Richard. And then I'm playing with Michelle Branch and Alanis Morissette, Avril Lavigne. And then I play, I performed the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and I recorded with the Buddy Rich Big Band. That is very, very diverse, and that's rare. I can't say that I calculated all of that. It happened, and maybe it's my classical background that helped me with that. But my point is I was always taking action. I was always trying to connect with people. I was always, when I was in LA, I was always going out when clubs were open, meeting, people, or when you were in the studio and there's like 4 recording studios in a building like Henson or East West or Cello or other big studios in LA, you kept running into people and then they'd say, oh my God, yeah, Kenny, I want you to play my record, and I followed through. And, I lived in Indiana and Nashville was 4 hours away. So I kind of went after Nashville after I was an established drummer in LA, New York, as a session drummer, that is, and Indiana, obviously. And, I've always kept moving forward, moving forward. Never stayed complacent. Never, when Jack and Diane, the biggest hit probably I've ever been on, well, I shouldn't say that because Meatloaf, I'll Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That. That sold 40 million records, and that was a #1 hit. But my point is, when Jack and Diane, my first #1 hit single with Mellencamp, which has that iconic drum beat that I got to play, or I created on that single, when that became #1, I celebrated for 2 seconds. And then I immediately went, oh my God, the song's #1. Everyone's thinking, oh, wow, you're a #1 hit. But I didn't feel like I was the #1 drummer. I felt, oh, my God, how am I going to do this again? Oh, my God, I have to do this again. How do you practice coming up with a beat that's going to make a song a #1 hit single? There is no answer. All I know is the purpose. All I knew at that moment is the purpose of a drummer in a recording session, or a guitar player or anybody in a session, is only one thing. It's to get the song on the radio to be number one. It's not about me. It's about we. It's about me serving. Yeah, it's about me serving the artist, the band, the engineer, the producer, the label, the person that hired me, the musicians. It's about what can I do to help you? Yeah. What can I do to get the song on the on the record that will get on the radio, that will be a number one hit single? That's my job. If it means playing the simplest beat that doesn't give any attention to me, that's my job. What can I do to get the song to be number one on the radio? And if you're working in a law firm or Microsoft or any business, your job is what can I do to help the job I'm doing to be great? Because most of the time you're working with people. And even if you're working by yourself, look at it this way. Let's say a tennis player, they're on a team. They got masseuses, they've got coaches, they've got this whole team around them to make them perform great on the court. Even if you're an entrepreneur and you're doing everything yourself, you have to serve the people who buy your product.
I mean, this is my point about the fact that you spend time on LinkedIn, is that I don't want anyone to ever confuse the idea that what you do is very one dimensional, because it's not. Your whole craft and what you've done in your whole career has been built on music, obviously, but the application of the principles are very much the same for business. So that's I just throw that out there for any musicians and people in the music industry, is that your skills are very transferable, and I think that's part of you being on LinkedIn says that as well. I'm going to jump on a question or see if we can reach out to somebody, because they gave me a long question, Kenny, and I thought, you know what, just because he wrote it out and he cared so much about putting that much effort into it, I got to give him a call. So Kurt, 608 is your area code. Kurt, we're going to give you a call right now, my friend, and you're going to have to paraphrase this question for Kenny, because it's a long one. But I'm interested as to why you asked it. That's what I'm interested in. So, and I'm sure Kenny will be too as well. Come on, Kurt, pick up, buddy.
Hello.
Hello, Kurt. This is Peter, and you are live right now with Kenny Aronoff.
Hi, Kenny. The last time we met was Minneapolis. I was attempting to launch a mobile app.
Cool.
So
when was that? When was that?
Oh boy, you were. Sammy was promoting his new liquor. You were in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
We went out to a restaurant. I gave you a demonstration of the app, and unfortunately, I had shortly after that had to get back to Wisconsin. But anyway, as with a lot of drummers like yourself, and me being an engineer, I'm always fascinated by the mechanics of the human body, the brain's ability to create all the spatial activity going on in your head. You know, I would guess or presume that if you close your eyes, you would know exactly almost where everything is at any given time in the moment. With all the incredible sensors to measure acceleration and force and everything else, have you ever looked at like contacting anybody at MIT with a bunch of guys and get hooked up with sensors on your wrists and your knees, your feet, the drum heads, and everything else? Because accumulating all that data would produce an incredible mapping of just how you're moving about in any given moment.
Wow, you hear that, Kenny? And that's a pretty cool concept, isn't it?
Let's do it. But I almost want to say, I was born in a test tube at MIT, but that would nobody would believe that. No, that sounds awesome. I would love to do that. That'd be cool. That's pretty. I've never even thought about that, but I'd be real fascinated to see, because the way I picture my brain when I'm working, I can't even begin to say it fast enough. I'm like, as I'm playing, I'm going immediately when I sit down and I start playing. I try to identify where my brain is at that day, at that moment, and where my body is at that moment, because you have to understand what you're dealing with. When you're starting out, you're doing a 3-hour show the way I used to do it with Mellencamp and Melissa Etheridge and even the Pumpkins, just pounding it out. You need to understand where your body's at so that if for some reason you have to make some adjustments, you are the player and the coach. You are the player and the coach on this team, Kenny Aronoff. So you have to make some decisions. Oh my God, says, wow, feeling a little bit weak today. So, okay, I'm going to back off 2% to save it for the whole show. Things like that. Or make sure I tell my guy, you better get some, I always have water, and I also have like carbohydrate, like what bikers use, Tour de France users have. This like sugar. If it's hot out, you're in the last 30 minutes of the show and you start to feel muscle pain or weakness, I have everything there, and I eat and prepare for these things. But the point is, there's a lot going on, and my brain's going elbow, arm, fingers, knee, bass player, John, lights, bam. I'm going constantly, always going on. What's going on? What's in here? What's that? Oh, bam, oh, wow, oh, dude. My head's going just like that, nonstop for the whole show. Identifying, watching, observing, processing. So if they had sensors on me, it'd probably come off something like what I just did.
Hey, that's a great question. No, I wanted to make sure that Kenny heard that, because I think to your point, I myself personally, but I'm sure we've all watched a documentary or two on the idea of how music affects the brain and what music does when connecting synapses and so on. But to his point, Kenny, it would be magical to see how your brain is actually reacting while you're doing what you do, making decisions and reacting and so on. Hey, we really appreciate that question. I hope that Kenny gave you some of it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, cheers.
Awesome.
Take care.
Hey, Peter, I see a couple questions I want to answer real quick.
Go ahead, my friend.
Somebody wanted to know what sticks I use. I have a signature stick. You can see it on my website in the store. It's basically a 5A extreme profile, a thickness that Vic Firth makes, 5B extreme, but then I took the rock profile of my signature, which actually used to be bigger than that. When I got with the Smashing Pumpkins, I decided to scale down the same stick, but the thickness of a 5B, because I felt like I was going to have to play more notes and faster. So the neck is not like the Vic Firth 5B, which tapers. Mine stays thick to the tip, and the tip is not like a 5B extreme, which is pointed. Mine's more rounded, like a rock stick. All right, that. And then someone want to know about the records behind me. I have 1,300 gold, platinum, diamond records, just so that people might want to know. Gold in America is 500 records sold. Platinum is 1 million, and then diamond is 10 million. And behind me is a lot of Mellencamp. I also have Melissa Etheridge, Bob Seger, Bon Jovi, John Fogerty, That Thing You Do, which is a movie I played the drums in, as Michelle Branch. And without turning my head, that's basically those. But I've got, Rolling Stones, Rod Stewart. It's endless. It's endless.
Crazy. Well, this is why, like I said, we couldn't get into the introduction because we'd be just getting over it now if we started with the show, because we had to list everybody that you worked with. It's unbelievable. I'm going to jump into another quick call from Chris in New York. So hopefully, Chris, you are still listening, and you're going to have Kenny on there. But I'm glad you jumped in and answered those questions, Ken, because we have so many questions here, and I want to make sure we get to everybody as quick as we can here.
Another one.
Got a few more minutes. Let's see if Chris is going to answer from New York. I think he has a great little question here. I'll ask it to you anyway if he... Oh, Chris. Oh.
Hello.
Hello, Chris. This is Peter, and you're on with Kenny Aronoff. How are you?
Hey, Kenny, how are you?
Good, Chris. Where are you? Are you in Manhattan or somewhere else in New York?
So I'm in Westchester County. I'm in northern Westchester County in a town called Cortland, Mass.
I know Westchester County real well.
Yeah, I know you do. I know you know UMass as well. I went to UMass and graduated from there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm a big fan, and I'm always interested. I play with a lot of singer-songwriters here locally in Westchester and New York and Connecticut, and my biggest challenge is staying, organized with their new music and being ready to be in the pocket for them. You do it so well. You're the best there is at it, and I know how you stay organized and how you do what you do.
Well, first of all, if I write charts for everything, I can't memorize that much material unless you're playing with somebody for a long time. So I write charts out. I get the tempos written out. I make sure if in situations like you're in, if they're into playing with a click track, I'll play with a click track to make sure that I give them exactly the tempo that they're comfortable singing at, or at least maybe start the click and then turn it off once the band gets in the pocket. But like I said, I have everything written off. I also learn, since you're the guy that most likely is going to count off the songs, you rehearse how you're going to count off. Is it 1, 2, 3, 4? Is it 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4? Click your sticks, and you get them to feel comfortable that you're in control of the band, and you also cue all the sections, make it real obvious. Your drum fills, try to make it the same fill every time, so everybody knows when you're going to the chorus, when you're going back to the second verse, how you're going to end. Always know how you're going to end the song, so people know. It might be you just slow down, blah blah ba boo ba boo ba. You really announce all that stuff, so people trust you and feel secure having you there, especially the singer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we're cut from the same cloth. I try to do a lot of those things.
Yeah.
I just when I write charts out, I always seem to get too fine into the details and try to micromanage myself too much, I think.
Yeah, good. Well, I mean, that's probably why you work so much. So credit to you. You just said you work in all those different states. I mean, my God, that's why, because people they can depend on you, and that's so important.
Absolutely, man. Well, I look up to you quite a lot, and I want to say thank you for all the things that you do and the contributions you make, not just in drumming, but you're a role model and a mentor for a lot of us. So thank you so much, Kenny, man.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks for nice talking to you.
That's great, Chris. Hey, quick question with you, Chris. Are you a full-time? You make a living playing drums, or is it still something you have to kind of throw into the weekends and things?
Well, I tried my darndest for about 10 years to do that. I did a lot of teaching. I taught drum lines. I come from a drum and bugle corps background as well.
Yeah.
So I taught marching bands, and I had private lessons, and I had 10 or 15 students a week for about 10 years. On the education team over at Vic Firth, did a lot of those things, and then became sort of a drum set focused guy. And here I am, doing a lot of work on the side. A lot for pleasure, but really, trying to make a name for myself locally while I hold down a day job.
Fantastic. Well, Kenny, Kenny, you can appreciate that, right? I mean, it's
I love it.
It's a tough go, but he sounds like he's putting pieces together to still make a living, which is great.
Congratulations, man! You're doing great in the climate of the music business. You're doing great.
Yeah, I love it, man. I can't imagine not playing drums.
Well, that's why I go to the studio every day. Every day in the COVID-19, it's car, studio, car, home. And I play. I have a 1-hour practice routine. I call it the fundamental practice routine, where I practice things that are very specific to making me sound great today. And you know what my number one rudiment is? You'll probably appreciate this, is the single stroke roll. I mean, you can't do it enough. And whenever I'm practicing with my hands, I include my feet, even if it's simple like quarter notes, stick control. So the single stroke roll exercise is quarter notes with your foot. You're playing, let's say, lines 1 through 13 with your eighth notes, and when I do the roll, it's 16th notes. So like the first line will be right, left, right, left, right, left. If you end the line with the left hand, you start the roll with your right hand. So you're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do that, and I have the first time I go through that is the quarter notes with the right foot. Second time is quarter notes with the left foot. Next time is playing 8 notes double bass drum, because I have to practice double bass drum every day. So that's my way of being functional and getting right to the necessities of what I need to practice. So while I'm really doing my single stroke roll, I'm practicing my feet too. But you'll love this part. I do that all again, but with the double stroke roll following every line, and then do the same thing again with a paradiddle roll. And then when I'm done, I go singles, doubles, paradiddle, singles, doubles, paradiddle, singles, doubles, paradiddle, while I'm playing the double bass drum eighth notes with my hands. I'm playing 16th note singles, doubles, paradiddle, singles, doubles, paradiddle. I knew as a marching guy, you must appreciate that.
Well, I know that your goal is to center the beat between all of your limbs, and I know that that's the focus of that exercise. So I absolutely appreciate that. It's hard to do.
Well, you must have amazing chops. If you were teaching drumline, I love it. Well, I hope to meet you someday.
Yeah, me too, man. Absolutely. Thank you so much for talking with me.
Hey, thank you, Chris. Appreciate it, man. Cheers.
Thanks, Mike. All right, guys. Cheers.
Hey, a buddy of mine, Steve Sands wanted to know if we recorded with Satriani all together. Absolutely. Yep. That we had a click track, a lot of guitar and parts were already there in Pro Tools, but as a band, we recorded live.
Fantastic. Do you see any other questions here, Kenny? Because we're wrapping up to close to our 90 minutes here. If you see anything else there's so many right now. I didn't want to jump into another call right now because it might take you over a little bit.
That's all right. Here's a guy, Robert Borden's. Robert Borden's is over in the Netherlands. It wasn't. It wasn't a question. He's very Robert. Thank you. He said something very flattering.
All right, there you go. Well, hey, listen, I've been watching. I've been trying to monitor everything that's coming in and get to them all. And we've been putting up as many comments along as we can. But if you see something there, go ahead, Ken.
Yeah. So, question somebody asked is it's very important. He says, he's asking, how's my hearing? Well, my hearing is pretty beat up in the 1.5 to 4K, maybe 5K, 6K. Oh, yeah, the high end is just dipped way out because smashing and bashing drums and all the loud amplifiers. Yeah, my hearing is definitely beat to crap in the high end. And, when we were younger back then, nobody wore, protection. And then I have to admit, man, I like the volume of just being blown off my seat.
It's true. And it's hard. It's hard when you're used to that. And like you said, your ears will adjust to it. And that's the sad part of it is that many drummers, of course, some of us turn our heads or not. The professional drummers turn their heads and certain ears get a little weaker than the other ones. Hey, Ken, I just found another question here. That would be a great one to end on, by the way, because I'm actually very interested in this question myself. So Mark, if you're still out there, 763 is the area code. So Mark, you're going to have the last question here with Kenny Aronoff this afternoon. Hopefully he'll pick up. $763. I'm not sure where that.
I recognize that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, Mark.
Yes.
Hi, this is Peter, and you are live with Kenny Aronoff for your question.
Hello, Peter. How are you guys? Kenny,
we're good.
Good to talk to you again.
Go ahead with your question. I really liked it, actually, because I'm thinking it's a great way to end this conversation today with Kenny. Yes. And, go ahead. So,
Kenny, is there anything that you would like to change, undo, or redo from your past?
You know what? That's a great question. The thing is, I believe at this point in my life, there are no mistakes, and I believe there are no failures. In other words, everything you do in life, especially when we thought they were mistakes, actually were gifts. Everything we do is just an experience. Don't look at it as a mistake. Look at it as a way to learn and be a better person. In my case, a better man, a better drummer, a better man, a better drummer, just better at everything I do. So when you've asked me that, I could sit there and list a whole bunch of things. Oh, damn, I wish I hadn't done that. Now I look at it like, no, that has served me to bring me where I am now. And so I have to look at it I do choose to look at it in a positive light now. So, and earlier in this interview or this Q&A, I said, this line, I'll never be as great as I want to be, but I'm willing to spend the rest of my life trying to be as great as I can be. And so that to me means like it's like being a running back in football. You don't get a touchdown every time. And a guy who doesn't get a touchdown doesn't cry or get bummed out. It's a process. Your goal is to try to get in the end zone as many times as you can until you die, you know? And so I'm just trying to do as much as I can, and I'm good. I'm okay with that. And you're going to have experiences that you used to call mistakes, but they're just experiences to help you become better at what you do. It doesn't matter if it's relationships, what you eat, diet, health things, your skill, your job. It's all above. And so I have no regrets, to answer your question. And, I'm just trying to do the best I can. I created an exercise last year, which was I wrote down 3 things that were really important to me in my heart. And I decided I was going to commit to those 3 things for 1 year and work on them every day. And every night when I lay in bed, I go, did I do work on those areas? One was to build my speaking business up and to be really focused on not just getting more work, but being a better speaker with regard to content, not about me, about them, try to make sure that when people left me speaking, that they learned something that was heartfelt, that really would maybe help them, kind of motivate them, inspire them. So by the time they got to their cars, it wasn't like, what did he say? They were going like, oh my God, I love that. So that was one thing. The other was to be a better partner in my relationship. Not that I was doing anything wrong, but I just decided, I'm married to my wife, Georgina, and I'm planning to be married to her until I die. So I'm going to focus on that. That's like, I'm with that person when I'm home, that is, every day. And there's always something I can learn from being in that relationship. And the third thing was to be the best man I can be, which kind of encompasses everything. And so those 3 things I took to heart. And so that's how I decided I would get the most value out of my life.
Wow.
Well, I just want to say that your podcasts are wonderful. I enjoy watching them. And if you ever come to Minnesota, look me up.
All right. I will do that.
All right.
Thank you,
fantastic, Mark. Hey, thanks for calling and thanks for that question. Really appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Okay, Kenny. Well, listen, gosh almighty. I can't get over the breadth and the reach today that we covered. I mean, we had a question from a 65-year-old gentleman who bought his first drum kit to a 12-year-old who wanted to know what the influences were, and all in between. And you were able to connect with some people that you haven't heard from in a little while as well. So the first question is, did we have fun today? Did we have fun today?
Of course. I love doing this sort of thing. Absolutely. I enjoy this so very much.
Fantastic. Well, let's leave everybody with a couple things. First of all, if they want to reach out to Kenny, of course, you can always go through KennyAronoff.com. Kenny's also available on social media, as we've talked about today. We're actually on Facebook and Twitter right now, LinkedIn, Instagram, these kinds of platforms you can reach out to. Anyone in the business world, of course, we talked about that earlier, speaker, author. Kenny, you have a new book. I think we talked about that. Hopefully that's still going to be as an iron in the fire kind of thing. But the new book, your last book is coming out in paperback in May. Now, Amazon has it as May 15th. But again, we would ask everybody to go out and check that out as well. So Kenny, leave us with, what's coming up for you in the short, in the next, I guess, 15 to 30 days, because we're in weird times right now. So,
work out every day, go to my studio every day, play the drums an hour, and usually it's an hour to 2 hours, more interviews, more podcasts, more sessions. I'm already getting ready to do more sessions. I'm going to be eventually starting my audio book. I had worked on these wraps, these masks, put out by Incognito. Cool thing is you put the way it is that you put this on and this would hold it in place. Those are projects. I've got a lot of projects like that coming out with a coffee, you guys. I was going to call it something. I was going to call it Kaboom, but apparently Kaboom is a toilet cleaner.
Yeah. I don't want to have that. Yeah. That's not a coffee.
Anyway, there's a lot of. I'm always doing tons of projects. And tons of interviews. I've got one coming up in Japan. I just did one in England. It's endless. And it just, my days are full. And trying to think if there's anything else I'm doing. Live gigs, I can't say there's anything happening on that right now. But,
No. Well, I think at the very, for everybody out there who took the time to send a comment, we thank you for that. For those that to put messages on Twitter, Facebook, who've texted us, and if we didn't get to your question, we apologize for that. Hopefully, you got a good taste of some of the things that are to come, because I believe that we'll be looking at doing more things with Kenny in the near future. So, Kenny, listen, my friend, thank you so much for taking the time. Everybody here that follows your career, we thank you for everything you've done to date. And just as importantly, the people that do follow your career love having this opportunity to connect with you. So it's very kind of you to take some time today to connect with people. And we'll do it again, right? Okay, you hang in there. You hang in there, and we'll chat in a little while. Everybody out there, thank you so much for joining Kenny today, and we'll see you.
Thank you.